everybody. Welcome to Cisco's Virtual Kitchen. My name is Lisa Evangelos, and I am the National Administrator for the Culinary Federation, the Association of Chefs, Cooks, and Culinary Partners across Canada. And we are excited to be back for another episode of Chefs in the Field. Today is a very special episode. We've got lots planned for you. We've got special guests from across the country and across the world. And so you're going to want to stick around and listen up to everything we have to share. We've got Jay here with us as our special at the helm, our captain.
You're so much better at this than I am. Just listening to this.
Our captain of Chefs in the Field and Cisco's Virtual Kitchen.
All right.
So without further ado, I would love to introduce.
Do you want to go to a commercial or do you want to introduce?
I'll introduce.
Do you want to introduce?
Yeah,
okay.
we'll introduce. We'll go straight to it today.
Okay, here we go.
So to kick things off and to share with us the launch and the introduction of a very special new partnership that the Culinary Federation has is Per Unheim, who is the Head of Public Affairs and Trade with the Embassy of Iceland in Ottawa. So welcome, Per. We're so excited to have you.
You can unmute.
Thanks so much. There we go.
There we go.
All right.
It's live. We
Yeah.
like
That's how we do.
Yeah, we like that. Moment.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Really excited to be here.
Awesome. So we'd love to hear, I know that you have lots planned to share with us to talk about how this whole partnership with the Culinary Federation came about. So I'll hand it over to you.
That's right. Thanks, Lisa. So the five Nordic embassies here in Ottawa work very closely together on a whole range of projects. And this year, we decided to seek support from the Nordic Council of Ministers based in Copenhagen to run a Nordic culinary initiative here in Canada between January and June. So the five Nordic countries of Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden will be partnering with the Canadian Culinary Federation, with yourselves, to raise awareness of new Nordic cuisine, talk a bit about where it was, where it's going, and start building bridges with the Canadian culinary industry. So, together with the Federation, with the Culinary Federation, our embassies will be rolling out a wide range of initiatives, in person, in print, and online over the next 6 months. To shed light on new Nordic cooking and how Nordic food production practices are a good example of how the culinary sector can play a role in mitigating environmental degradation and climate change. And really important to note is that throughout, and this has made a really important value across the Nordic region, we'll be underlining the importance of women's equal participation in the culinary sector.
Yes, we love to hear about that.
So kicking things off, and today's a perfect example of a female chef that's really making waves both in the region and internationally. So kicking things off is this series. So this is the introductory series episode. You'll see 5 more episodes featuring each of the 5 Nordic countries in this Chefs in the Field program. So over the next 6 episodes, including this one, viewers can look forward to hearing from Nordic experts on topics from land-based renewable energy-powered Arctic Char production in Iceland, Finnish approaches to growing seasonal vegetables, and plant-based diets in Denmark. For readers of the Culinary Federation's Hot Off the Grill newsletter, also keep an eye out for 3 articles by Nordic experts on these sorts of topics. For example, Arne Sorvig is the director of the Norwegian Gastronomy Foundation, who's going to be sharing some insights from his organization's Food Lessons Project, which is seeking to integrate old Norwegian culinary practices to bring those into a modern context. But all of this leads up to the main event, which is the Culinary Federation's annual conference from June 4th to 8th. So at that conference, there'll be 15 representatives from the Nordic region and our embassies, and they'll be running a bit of a showcase on all things new Nordic and Nordic food production. So over the course of the conference, if you do plan to attend, we hope to see as many people there as possible. You'll be able to witness and take part in a range of Nordic activations, including food stations at the opening reception, a dinner menu designed by a Swedish chef, Nordic-themed exhibits on the showcase day, a panel discussion featuring Nordic experts talking about sustainability, sustainable production and consumption on land and on water, and a breakout session focused on new Nordic culinary practices in Finland. Best way to keep track of what's going on with this project is both through this virtual kitchen series, but also by following our social media accounts. The Icelandic Embassy is leading the initiative on behalf of the Nordics, so please do follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn, but do reach out to the others as well. So I'll leave it there before we start introducing our.
Didn't sound serious at all. That was like incredible.
Yeah, what an amazing plan we have. I'm just so excited that you laid it out just like that, Per.
Wow.
Because basically what you just announced is that in addition to our regular Chefs in the Field series, we're going to have a special Nordic feature with 5 episodes after this, featuring each of the countries that are part of this partnership. And then that's all just leading up to our main event that's happening in June. It's also our 60th anniversary of our culinary conference. And so this is another amazing way that we're highlighting that this year in Niagara Falls is going to be something more, something special. And this is one of the exciting components of that. So thanks for explaining all those things that we have to look forward to.
Yes, we're super excited.
Us too.
Very cool.
So I believe you are going to introduce now our first of the 5 feature chefs. So I'll let you take care of that.
Actually, Camilla is number 6. She is our Pan-Nordic representative today. What we want to do is give people a bit of a primer on new Nordic cuisine and the whole new Nordic food movement from its inception with the Food Manifesto to where it is today and where it may be going in the future. And Camilla Seidler from Denmark is an excellent representative to speak to that. There's Camilla. I think you can see her online.
Hello.
Hi, Camilla. Happy to have you.
So she was born in Copenhagen, where she is today. She's been working in restaurants since she was 15 years old. She graduated from the Copenhagen Hospitality College, and she's worked in several well-known restaurants such as Belmont Le Manoir, Au Quatre Saisons, and Mugaritz, which I'm going to have to check out at some point, hopefully. She has worked with Klaus Meyer on setting up the Bolivian food movement. Klaus Meyer, as many of you will know, was instrumental in the new Nordic Food Manifesto. And she served as head chef of the restaurant Gusto in La Paz from 2012 to 2018. In fact, in 2016, she was named the best female chef by Latin America's 50 best restaurants.
Oh.
Whoa.
Check that out.
I'm going to do my PR pitch from now on.
That's a keeper. That's a keeper.
And she took part, in Bolivia, she took part in a project called the Camilla Seidler Expedition, where she traveled for 4 months to several countries, teaming up with local food festivals and pop-ups. Camilla now runs her own restaurant in Copenhagen called Lola. Over to you.
Yes.
Wow, Chef Camilla, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
The intro.
My dad should hear this. He's like, "Are you really going to be a cook?" And now Pia makes it sound fancy. I love it.
Wow.
Well, it is very impressive, and we're very excited to have you. And I just loved how when Per was talking earlier about this partnership too, that there's a focus on women in the culinary industry, which is something that's obviously near and dear to my heart. Being the administrator of the Culinary Federation, I love to see women in their work passionate about this stuff. So we're really happy to have you here today to represent Denmark.
Thank you so much. I'm
Awesome.
a strong believer in female chefs and chefs in general. So I'm very happy to be here.
Well, can I just throw something in here? Because on that, yesterday I had the executive chef from the Calgary Flames on the show, NHL, and she's a huge inspirational. I don't know if I can talk today. Female chef in the industry. So I echo that as well, and it was just amazing to see her, and it was just incredible to have her on the show as well. So. This is awesome. We have a theme going on this week.
That's how we like it. Right. I would love to hear a little bit about how you have gotten involved in the new Nordic Food Manifesto. Like, how did it come to be that you are part of this movement? That how you came to be involved with Per, the whole thing, if you wouldn't mind sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, I started out. I was working in this industry from I was 15, like Per said, but obviously not dedicating my career to it until I was 21, which was in 2004, from when the New Nordic Manifest was created. And I actually started out by going straight to Spain, to San Sebastian, and learning that whole, having the whole respect for the product, and very much what the Nordic Manifest was actually about was the principles of that restaurant. So they would have hunters, they would have small cheese producers, they would have a lot of the same things, which is and has become like the benchmark for the Nordic Manifest. It's basically understanding that you don't have a very heavy, broad culinary tradition, but then trying to create a new one, using and I would say enhancing what you have at hand. Tonight we had the privilege of, it's night here. Tonight we had the privilege of teaching 25 top executives how tasty a root vegetable can be. And I think that's a little bit about what we see in the Nordic movement is we understand that we have maybe a humble period in the year, 4 months of cold, which means that you need to be creative with what you have. So this is obviously brought on later on, the whole fermentation wave and everything we see now, but it started out to be very much about the respect for the product. And with that whole philosophy, and also see how we could, instead of having a lot of monocultured vegetables on big fields, then we started to see smaller producers actually getting more and more customers and more restaurants connected. And I think that kind of tipped the scale of like, oh, now the big chefs are doing it. They're buying from small producers. Then suddenly that became a thing. And then a few years later, Klaus Meyer poked me on the back and asked if I would want to try and implement the new Nordic Manifest, scratch Nordic, and then write new Bolivian Manifest, and then implement some of the same principles. So it's not more than being specific to ingredients. It's much more about respecting the circle of nature and the producers, and with that obviously comes education, which is one of the fundamental steps of this whole of the success of this project, if you can call it that. So I saw it from my very first baby steps in a professional kitchen, and then kind of bringing it on the other side of the world, and now back in Copenhagen, trying to obviously bring some of the knowledge from the world back, and some of the flavors back, but then implementing it on seasonal Danish vegetables. So it's been a journey. That's a very short sum up.
Well, I felt like that was a great summary. I'm for sure a summary and not all the details, but I think that it's really inspiring, and how the new Nordic Manifesto started kind of when you really started taking your culinary career by the reins. It's kind of been your whole career has been very involved with the Nordic Manifesto, and obviously I didn't know that until just hearing it from you right now. Yeah. So what a great story.
Yeah. It's also it's obviously very broad, so it's also interesting to be able to use it from everything from the conversation you have with a very small scale producer on a mountaintop in Bolivia, and then having somewhat the same conversation with Kirsten, the lady who brings our vegetables tonight. And it's really the passion that drives this whole movement, because if you don't have people convinced that this is a great idea, if you can't taste the difference, if you can't really sell it, then there's nothing to to bring forward. So this is it's only been successful because there's a lot of truth to it. And if we look around the world, I think there's I'm very proud to see that in any restaurant from Ecuador to I don't know, maybe Thailand, you can spot a little bit of the Nordic Manifest, and at least the principles. And I think that's been a huge advantage to small scale producers and to the food ethics around the world. So thank you the group of people who decided to do this for the rest of us to follow.
It's so cool.
Well, and it's just so wonderful that now it's spreading to Canada through this partnership. And so I'm excited to talk to, each different chef that we have featured coming up in this mini series about their own personal experience.
It's huge
with it. So, I mean, really, when it comes down to it, what I'm hearing you say is it's just really based off of healthy relationship, right? A healthy relationship of you with your producers, with the producers, with what they're producing, with the food that's coming to the table that people are consuming. It's just respect and health in the overall holistic scheme of things, which I personally am also very passionate about. So I love to hear about that. We were talking about how each of the Nordic countries has their own unique take on new Nordic cuisine. So I would love to hear a little bit about what you would say Denmark's take is on what new Nordic cuisine means, if you don't mind.
I think we have, at least speaking from great parts of Denmark, and obviously especially being based in Copenhagen, I think we've moved on to the part of being very attractive, thank God, to a lot of international chefs, and all these talented people came over to work at all sorts of restaurants, and obviously some of the bigger restaurants were able to bring a lot of people in with a lot of knowledge, and then suddenly this knowledge has become, there's a boom right now in Copenhagen of Asian-inspired restaurants, but the soy sauce is house made from local barley, and the miso is made on So basically now we have learned from the people who came in, but then implementing it with the local ingredients that we have and the techniques that we share. A restaurant like Noma always, they're trendsetter, so they go to Japan for 4 months. They learn a ton of stuff from old traditional ways of doing things, and then bringing them back. And since one of the principles of the new Nordic Manifest is that we don't want to be a food museum. We don't have a grandmother kitchen that we need to relate to. We had quite a boring kitchen, so there's nothing that says that we can't have a really exciting locally produced organic miso on local barley. And that's what really excites me about cooking right now in Denmark, is that the limits are endless, and we as long as you kind of stick to locally produced and organic and you follow the seasons, then you can put whatever kind of label on it that you want. So we have incredible producers doing collabs with completely different industries and all these things. So I think it's become a very inventive space to be in. Obviously also serving great food to guests, but also the whole invention part of things, and being a little bit front runners in sustainable solutions in the food industry. That makes me happy and proud to be in this industry right now as a Nordic in Denmark.
Very cool. So you're seeing lots of Asian influence then coming.
It's amazing. I love it. So it's a great mix, and also on my bucket list is Canada. So I'm very excited about this exchange. So
So you'll be coming with in June to Niagara Falls.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, then I'm excited to be in person. I would love to actually know just a little bit. We have a couple more minutes left here. In closing, Per mentioned your restaurant. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about what you do at your restaurant and how, the new Nordic cuisine or the Nordic Manifesto is impacting your specific restaurant. Is that where you are right now?
No, actually, I'm in a hopefully soon to be my business restaurant. We have the live intention of a merger, but that's another story. You'll know in June. So in Bolivia, obviously but we decided to go 100% local. So the Nordic Manifest was, and the Nordic philosophy was obviously to borrow from each country, because, like I said in the beginning, we don't have that much in certain seasons, so it's nice to borrow from your neighbors. But since Bolivia being a development country, we decided to go 100% local to ensure that the money that we spend on produce and so on would stay in the country and not end up somewhere else. Yeah. So living this strict regime, which was amazing because there's so much to choose from, for 6 years, I came back and also winning the award in 2016, Best Female Chef, is obviously a great honor, but it's also huge. Very much a team effort, and being in charge of almost 80 people. How the hell can this not be an award for everyone? So I wanted to make sure if I ever did a restaurant again, that it was reflected on the menu that we were a team. So now we have an amazing chef from India. Renata, my former chef from Bolivia, is with us. We have an amazing Danish chef called Christina, and they all contribute to the menu with me and my partners. But it's very obvious to see if we have an amazing Indian item of the menu, then obviously David brought that to the plate, and we want to make sure that people know that. So it's very much sharing is caring, and it's very much inspired from the world flavor profile, but then again everything locally sourced and organic as much as we can. So that's a little bit the philosophy, that if you can't travel that much, which we couldn't during this whole COVID disaster, then at least you can come to your neighborhood restaurant and have a taste of the world.
And travel in the cuisine. I love that. You're speaking so much of my love language right now in saying stuff like you wanted to make sure your award was obviously a team effort, and sharing is caring, and highlighting each of your team members and giving them the spotlight when appropriate. I just really appreciate everything you're saying and your philosophy and your approach to your work and to culinary. It really has been a pleasure to chat with you today. We didn't even end up needing to go to a commercial break because we just had enough to talk about. You were so inspiring to listen to. So what a great way to kick off what's to be a great mini series with the Nordic countries. So today, having you come from Denmark, thank you so much for being a part of our show. I always like to say thank you to Cisco and Cisco's Virtual Kitchen and Jay for giving us the platform to come on and share about what we're so passionate about. And obviously a huge thank you to Per Anheim from the Embassy of Iceland, who connected us in the first place and brought us all together. So that's just the reveal.
Do you want to wrap up?
I think that's what I'm doing.
I just want to thank everyone as well, and I think on behalf of Cisco and what we do over here, this is incredible. First of all, this is unbelievable. What this all is, and be able to bring this all together. So thank you again, Lisa, for putting this all together. And I'm blown away. I'm almost speechless, and that's hard. So
thanks
thank you so much.
Yeah, it just flowed so easily and went by so quickly. So
yeah, it did. I was just geeking out over here.
We'll be sure to tag every social media that was mentioned in this episode. We'll make sure to include in the description so everyone can check out the Embassy of Iceland, the restaurants mentioned, everything that Camilla's doing, the Culinary Federation, and we'll be back again. Stay tuned for all the upcoming dates of this mini series, and we'll be back at the end of February for another Chefs in the Fields.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.